Hi there folks, Michael from First Aid Oz once again. In the previous video on CPR, we looked at CPR on an adult. On this occasion we're looking at a child. So what determines a child? Basically over the age of 1 and up to the onset of puberty. Of course, take into account the child's development. It's not rather than put a raw age on it, because kids develop at different ages. So the procedure is pretty much the same, the guidelines are the same. The one obvious difference is the size of the body is a little bit smaller. So when it comes to the compressions, the amount of force required to get that same third of the depth of the chest compression is not as great as it would be for an adult. So let's basically run through the same steps as we went through with an adult. So we started with our doctor's A, B, C, D, which we would for all first aid situations. So dangers, okay, ensuring that it's safe for us to proceed and administer first aid, and also safe for the casualty. And then response, we want to see whether the person is responsive, particularly conscious or unconscious, and in the case of conscious, whether they're in what we would call an altered state of consciousness, or whether in fact the condition is quite minor, or that maybe there's no condition at all. In the case of CPR, however, this applies to an unconscious person. So when we get to that response stage, we're looking at a situation where there's no response. Alright, so at that point in time, we would ring 000, okay, so we get the paramedics on their way whilst we continue on with the procedure or the process of determining whether the person needs CPR. At this point, that's still not decided yet. Okay, so ambulance is on the way. Okay, we look at whether there's anything obstructing the airways. Okay, so if we do find something obstructing the airways, we clear that where possible, turn the person to the side. May have to stick your fingers in their mouth and so on to do that, or use a plastic scoop, of course. If this was a real person, I would have my gloves on as a barrier, even a face mask. Okay, but in this case with a mannequin, it's not critical, but just bear in mind, with a live casualty, we do want to use those barriers. Having said that, however, if you're out and about and you don't have any of those items with you, the recommendation is it's still relatively safe to do CPR. Of course, in this COVID environment that we live in now, I understand people would be more reluctant to do that. So that's really a decision that you need to make. However, I'll give you a couple of options there should you decide that that's a little bit of a major concern for you. Anyway, assuming that we've cleared the airways or there was no obstruction to the airway, we now need to determine whether the person is breathing or not, because that's a critical component. Unconscious, not breathing, the person requires CPR. So when we get to the breathing, we use our look, listen and feel. So I would recommend side of your cheek, okay, the person's face, one hand lightly on the side of the rib cage, checking for rise and fall of the chest, any air leaving the nose or mouth, or the sound of any air. The person might be slightly gasping, but there's no real exchange of gases, in which case they still need CPR if they're not getting oxygen in. Okay, all of those things are the same as they were for the adult. Okay, when it comes to the guidelines of actually performing CPR, because now we've determined the person's not breathing or not breathing adequately, we don't need to proceed to other things like bleeding, breaks, fractures and so on. Those are secondary importance compared to the fact that the person is not breathing, because that means their heart will also stop if it hasn't already. So the guidelines for CPR, as they were for an adult, we're looking at 2 rescue breaths, 30 compressions in this case, third of the depth of the chest compressions at the rate of around about 100 compressions per minute. If we're doing that 2 breaths, 30 compressions combination, we're looking at around about 5 cycles every 2 minutes. Okay, the key difference will be, however, we're still looking at the bottom half of the sternum. We're still using the heel of our hand, but generally one hand would be enough. We want to be directly over the top, so this is a straight line, and we still need to get adequate compression. Now, if you're quite a petite person, I mean I'm not, but if you are, you may find you still need to use 2 hands. So that's a choice that you can make if you feel you're not pressing hard enough. But our 30 compressions, third of the depth of the chest, okay, and so on. So we go 30 and we go 2 breaths. Now, as explained in the previous video, the recommendation for a long time has been commence with 2 rescue breaths, and now there is another option that is commence with the compressions. Which one do I use? Well, my advice is it really depends on whether the person has just collapsed and you've seen they were just breathing only moments ago, now they've collapsed. In that case, they still have oxygen in the blood. I would start with the compressions first. However, if you come into a situation where the person has been not breathing for a period of time and you're not sure how long that's been, or you know that's been an extended period of time, I would start with the rescue breaths. But again, that's up to you. Another reason you may not do the breaths is because you're worried that you don't have the barrier. Again, you may use a mask if you have one handy. You may use a face shield if you have one handy, but again, you may not have those items if you weren't, perhaps in your work situation or your sporting situation, expecting to do first aid, you don't have those items with you. So that's again a decision you need to make. So the third option is that you can do compressions only, in which case, the cycles of 30 compressions and 2 breaths don't really count. It's more a case of continuous compressions. So anyway, so let's look at that then. So we're doing our compressions, we're doing our 2 breaths, bottom half of the sternum, third of depth compression, okay, at the rate of 100 per minute, but in a cycle of that 2 to 30. How long do we keep going? Well, we keep going until paramedics arrive to take over, or if the person regains breathing or consciousness, if we physically can't continue, or if it becomes unsafe for us to continue. So in which case, we would need to stop and reassess the situation, or even move the person to a different environment. Having said all that, however, understand CPR works best when it's done in conjunction with defibrillation. We're not focusing so much on defibrillation in this video. We do have a separate video for that. But in the case where a defibrillator is present, you need to get the defibrillator on that person as soon as possible. If you're the only person on the scene and you know there's a defibrillator around, you need to go and get that defibrillator as quickly as you can. If you have a second person, in that case, you commence CPR immediately and you continue CPR until the other person returns with the defibrillator. As soon as they return, you put the defibrillator on immediately, and then the defibrillator will pretty much tell you what to do from there. It most likely will still involve doing more CPR depending on what the defibrillator finds. So remember, once again, for the chances of survival for this person, CPR and defibrillator work best together. But in this case, for the purpose of this video, we're looking purely at the CPR component. So the key difference, like I said, between an adult and a child is the guidelines are pretty much the same. The key difference is using one arm instead of 2, and the degree of head tilt, we say for a child, not a full head tilt, half head tilt. The degree of difference is not that great, okay, but that's according to the recommendations. So that's CPR for child. So keep an eye out for our other CPR video, our third one, which is a CPR for an infant. Thank you.